Listen, if you want to learn how to paint shadows on your characters, this is by far the fastest and easiest way. And I should know, I've been living off making illustrations for picture books, middle grade books, video games for more than 15 years. This means that I've met a lot of deadlines with my clients, but I don't want to waste any of your time, so here's the first thing that you should do. And while in many cases you might consider what I'm about to show you right away as enough for shadowing, I will also show you a few things that you can do to make your shadows look extra fantastic. Here I have a character that I made for this video. It's a girl holding a cane. Why is she holding a cane? I'll let you know in a bit. As you can see right now, there are no shadows on this girl, just flat colors. So what are these flats that I made? Well, this is the local color of each thing on the illustration. All of these flat colors are in one layer. I am using Photoshop, but you can do all of these things that I'm about to show you on Procreate, on Clip Studio Paint, on basically any digital artist tool. So we're going to take care of the shadows. First, you have to choose a light source. As you can see, I have mine right here. This is for reference. You can delete it later once you're done with the illustration if you want to. Now, you're going to create a new layer on top of the flat colors. Here I go, new layer. You're going to press Alt and click between the two layers. Now you have created what is called a clipping mask. Now, whatever you paint on this layer will only show up in the space of the layer below, in this case, the flats. So if I paint like here, like this, see, I'm not going away from the flat colors on the illustration. Now, you can go to blend mode, choose multiply, change the opacity to something around 50% or 60%. Now choose the color that is purplish and paint away. I have already painted a shadow in a very similar layer and it looks like this. Now, why is the shadow purple though? Well, because there is an easy rule that says that when painting a shadow, you should pick a color opposite to the light color on the color wheel. So if it's going to be like this yellowy orangey color that I'm going to paint with, I'm going to come here and I'm going to choose a purplish color. You can do this for all of your shadows and it will work on any context. See, if I change the background to red, it will work just the same. Why is the shadow red now? Let's see. One mistake that artists make is to believe that shadows are just darkness. You can just paint the shadow part with a darker version of the local color and that would be it. Clearly, as you can tell, that is not how it works at all. You see, light doesn't just hit an object, it bounces. When it bounces from an object, the color of the light mixes with the color of the object. Light bounces from every object that it reaches. This doesn't affect the lit parts of the illustration because the light is too strong. But the light that bounces from the environment changes the color of the shadows because the environment is actually just another light source. And shadows are not really dark. They are in fact light, ambient light. In this particular case, the ambient light is made by all of the light bouncing off the red background. That's why it changes the color of the shadow to red. Alright, let's take a look at another example. Here I have the character on a sunny day at the beach. Okay, listen, I wanted to paint the whole background scene to make it look more like a beach, but it would have taken me a lot of time and I can explain this thing just the same without doing much effort. So just imagine there's a beach there, okay? So here I have the purple shadow that I explained in the beginning. I use it as a dark base that I'm going to use to put some light into the shadows. Now, I'm going to create another layer. I'm going to set it to lighten. I'm going to set the opacity to around 30% or so. I'm going to press the Control key and choose the shadow layer. This way it chooses all of the shadow that I painted before. And I'm going to click on the Create Mask button. This way, when we paint, we won't paint outside of the shadow space. Now I'm going to color pick the sky, get a soft brush, and paint away. Now try to emphasize the places where you think that the ambient light will be stronger. For example, I don't think that the ambient light will be too strong just here below her jacket. So I'm just going to delete that. I'm going to just make it fade a bit. See, I like this much better. See, as I said before, light bounces and it also bounces on the ground. So let's go through the process of creating a new layer just like the previous one. Pick the color of the ground and paint where you think that the bouncing light would reach. In this case, I like to have the opacity just be a little bit higher because I really like how the bounce light looks, but that is up to you. So now you have the direct shadow, the ambient light, and the bounce light. That's a lot of colors mixed in there. So what are these colors? Well, if we take the color picker and we look at the top right part of the screen, you can see that the more colors you mix, the more gray they become. See, in this particular part of the jacket that I'm looking at, I mixed the regular shadow with the ambient light, with the bounce light, and it is very close to gray. This is a lot more obvious if we compare the ambient color with the shadow colors. See, the sky is a lot more saturated. At the beginning of the video, I showed you a more polished version of this. So what did I do then? Well, as you can see here, I focused on the highlights, which is basically just picking the local color and moving it closer to the color of the light. This works in the highlighted areas, but they also work in the shadow areas. As you can see, what I did here was just pick the color of the hair in the shadow area and get it closer to the color of the sky. If you look at the pants, you can see that there is one more thing I did on this layer, which was to add a terminator line in the shadow area where the light area was too close in value. The terminator line is the line that splits the light area from the shadow area. It happens in real life. It is a little bit of an optical illusion because it is not darker than the rest of the shadow, but it does feel that way. So let's see another example of all of these theories at work. Here we have a forest background, but the shadows feel wrong, don't they? They're just too blue. In a sunny day, this works. But here in this forest, the ambient light is no longer blue, because all of the light is now bouncing from the green of the trees. So the ambient light should be green. This works the same in this particular example for the ground, because the grass is green, is getting hit by light, is bouncing off, and is getting her shoes and pants a little bit greener. This looks so much better. Let's look at another example. Here we have a very strong, very orange, very red sunset. So of course the green shadows look bad. So we have red shadows now. It works. Now the bounce light from this particular red sand shouldn't be so strong, but I like it, so I'm going to keep it. But do you notice I'm doing something wrong here as well? Well, yes, because I chose this particular image. Now I have no choice but to change the light source to, the actual sun in the photo. So a scene like this should be shadow more or less like this. Much better, isn't it? But now, what if there's something interfering with the ambient light? So let's go back to the girl with the cane at the beach. Now the cane, sadan, is a parasol. But why is the shadow red then? Well, since the parasol is not opaque, there is light bouncing on it, but also going through it. And when it goes through the red of the parasol, all of the light turns red. And as you can see, I also added a little bit of blue here because all of the ambient light is also hitting the parasol. And of course, you can do the same thing with the forest scene, and you can do the same thing with the sunset scene. Although in this particular case, the ambient light is so strong that I would argue that even a blue umbrella will be looking red in this scene. Or at least it would look like dark gray. So, there you have it. Easy and fast, wasn't it? So now you know, direct shadow, ambient light, and bounce light. So you want a little bit more? How about a second light source? If you like this video, I think that you're going to really like the next one, and you can watch it right here.